In the heart of the city, there's a lady so divine, with a gift so rare she can read between the lines, unlocking mysteries. She's the one we all admire. With a touch of magic, she sets our souls on fire. From psychic readings to rosemary oil so pure, her spirit shines bright. Of that I am sure. On TV she graces the screen with grace. Her presence is a blessing in every time and place. Pop culture psychic, in tune with the stars. She sees beyond the veil, even beyond Mars. And when the night falls, Tracy after dark, her wisdom illuminates like a powerful spark. So if you seek guidance, look no further than her door. Tracy Brown live where wisdom does soar. Through the realms of the unseen, she'll light your way. With every word she speaks, darkness turns to day. Tracy Brown live, the beacon of light, guiding us through the shadows of night. Her voice like a melody, so pure and strong. In her presence, we know we belong. From psychic readings to rosemary oil so pure, her spirit shines bright. Of that I am sure. On TV, she graces the screen with grace. Her presence is a blessing in every time and place. Pop culture psychic, in tune with the stars. She sees beyond the veil, even beyond Mars. And when the night falls, Tracy after dark, her wisdom illuminates like a powerful spark. So if you seek guidance, look no further than her door. Tracy Brown live where wisdom does soar. Through the realms of the unseen, she'll light your way. With every word she speaks, darkness turns to day. Tracy Brown live, the beacon of light, guiding us through the shadows of night. Her voice like a melody, so pure and strong. In her presence, we know we belong. Tracy Brown live, the beacon of light, guiding us through the shadows of night. Her voice like a melody, so pure and strong. In her presence, we know we belong.
Hello, everyone. I seem to be a little choppy. Let me make sure that am probably blurry because of the topic. You know, I will hit these sensitive topics, but YouTube will block me. So let's see if I'm blurry. All right. I don't seem to be blurry right now. So we'll just keep an eye on it. If I get blurry, guys, just let me know and I'll reload it. Okay. But I'll be watching the feed along with you all. So let me say hello to everyone. We're going to go straight into this. keep this up. My charger's attached. We'll figure it out. So I'm just going to say hi to everyone. I feel like I'm a little choppy though. Back at 8. Hi, sweets. How are you? Hi, Noel. How are you today? Looking forward to this topic. Yeah. Ugh. Hi, Stephen. Hi, Cat Tie. Hi, Marcella Amore. Hi, Jenny G. I love the faithful ones that come on all the time. So let me tell you why I'm doing this topic, because I am in St. Croix and I am the closest to um, Venezuela. My land is closest to Venezuela. Now, Puerto Rico is involved because Puerto Rico has a very big base there. See, I'm glitching. Damn it. Okay, I guess I'm back for a little bit. I don't know if you heard me, but I live in St. Croix, and St. Croix is the closest to Venezuela. That's why we acquired this land for multiple reasons. That's one of them, even though the Latin communities didn't have technically a problem. Um, Puerto Rico is involved, but that's only because Puerto Rico has a huge military base there. We don't have a huge military base. Puerto Rico does. Puerto Rico is about 2 hours away from us by flying. Is it 2 hours? Anywho, we are the closest. So there is a huge military base here right now. Um, they have brought in as much military as they can. We've seen the ships off at sea, and I seem to be stuck again. Sorry, guys. I'm wondering if I would have a better opportunity if I put up a picture rather than um, do it 100% live, because the video is glitching out and I don't want the video to glitch out. Is my sound glitching out, guys? It's the topic, guys. So the topic's not helping. What if I did this instead? Would that be okay with you guys? Is that something that you guys can put up with? What if I did this instead? Would that be okay with you guys? Is that something that you guys can put up with? Because the visual is just not going to show. What if I did this instead? Would that be okay with you guys? Is that something that you guys can put up with? Because the visual It's just not going to. Did this instead. Be okay with you. The visual's not going to show. The topic is too sensitive, and I am watched like a hawk. Hassan J. Dixon. So, you know what? But when I go to repurpose the video, Noel, then the repurpose of the video is awkward. Oh, God. You guys want live? Is that what you're saying? Hi, Black Coffee, No Cream. You guys want live? All right. I am prolonging this, and this is just so unnecessary, and I hate this for both of us. But unfortunately, this is a topic that I am heavily monitored by YouTube, and I think they think I'm going to say something disrespectful, but I can't say anything more disrespectful than our president putting us at war. I can't be more disrespectful than our lives being in danger. So I don't get YouTube sometimes. All right, I'll leave it live, but it definitely will be choppy. Live. I came to see you. Okay, all right. I love that. Thank you. With that being said, let's get some videos out first on this topic. And I've got quite a few, and I think I'm going to play them all, so stay tuned.
Do you want to know the truth about what's going on in Venezuela? Watch this and please pay close attention.
We're witnessing something remarkable in the Caribbean right now, something that tells us everything about where global power is actually shifting. Russian naval vessels have arrived in Venezuelan waters, and if you think this is just a military exercise, you're missing the deeper story. This is about sovereignty, about a multipolar world emerging whether Washington likes it or not, and about the fundamental question of who gets to decide how nations govern themselves. For decades, the United States has treated Latin America as its backyard. Regime change operations, sanctions, economic strangulation, all in the name of democracy and human rights. But when a country like Venezuela chooses to resist, when it refuses to hand over its oil resources to American corporations, suddenly it becomes a threat that must be contained. And now Russia is saying, you don't get to do this alone anymore. The era of unilateral American dominance is over. What we're seeing isn't Russian aggression. It's a direct response to American overreach. Venezuela is a sovereign nation, and it has every right to seek partnerships that serve its interests. The real question Americans need to ask themselves is this: why does our government spend so much energy trying to overthrow foreign governments instead of solving problems here at home? The answer reveals everything about empire, about priorities, and about a foreign policy establishment that refuses to accept a world where America is one nation among many, not the sole arbiter of global affairs. Let me take you back to understand how we got here, because nothing happens in a vacuum, and the Russian naval presence in Venezuela is the culmination of decades of American policy decisions that have consistently chosen confrontation over cooperation, domination over diplomacy. The story really begins in 1999 when Hugo Chavez came to power in Venezuela through a democratic election. Now, you can have whatever opinion you want about Chavez and his politics, but the fact remains that he was elected by the Venezuelan people in a process that international observers deemed free and fair. But from Washington's perspective, Chavez committed an unforgivable sin. He believed that Venezuela's vast oil wealth should primarily benefit Venezuelans, particularly the poor majority who had been excluded from prosperity for generations. He used oil revenues to fund social programs, healthcare, education, and he dared to challenge the neoliberal economic model that Washington had been pushing throughout Latin America since the 1980s. The response from the United States was swift and predictable. In 2002, there was a coup attempt against Chavez, and the fingerprints of American involvement were all over it. The Bush administration immediately recognized the coup government, even before Chavez was restored to power by massive popular demonstrations and loyal military units. This wasn't subtle. This wasn't covert. This was the United States openly signaling that it would support the overthrow of a democratically elected government because that government refused to align with American economic interests. And this is the pattern we see again and again throughout Latin American history. Guatemala in 1954, Chile in 1973, Nicaragua throughout the 1980s, Haiti multiple times, Honduras in 2009. The message has always been clear. You can have democracy in Latin America as long as you elect leaders who do what Washington wants. The moment you elect someone who prioritizes national sovereignty and economic independence, suddenly your democracy becomes a dictatorship that needs to be liberated. Now, Venezuela has the largest proven oil reserves in the world. Think about that for a moment. Larger than Saudi Arabia, larger than Russia, larger than anyone. This is an immense source of wealth and geopolitical leverage. And for decades, American oil companies had preferential access to these resources under terms that were extraordinarily favorable to foreign corporations and much less favorable to the Venezuelan people. When Chavez began to renegotiate these contracts, when he started demanding that a larger share of oil profits stay in Venezuela to fund social development, this was treated in Washington not as the legitimate exercise of national sovereignty, but as theft, as extremism, as a threat to American interests that had to be countered. And so began a campaign of economic warfare that has intensified over the past 2 decades and reached truly devastating levels under both the Trump and Biden administrations. The sanctions regime that the United States has imposed on Venezuela is one of the most comprehensive and punishing in the world. These aren't targeted sanctions aimed at specific individuals or military units. These are broad economic sanctions designed to cripple the entire Venezuelan economy, to make it impossible for the country to sell its oil on international markets, to access international banking systems, to import food and medicine, to maintain its infrastructure. The stated goal is to create such misery and economic collapse that the Venezuelan people will rise up and overthrow their government. Let that sink in. The policy is explicitly designed to immiserate an entire population in the hopes that suffering will produce regime change. This isn't democracy promotion. This is collective punishment. And under international law, collective punishment is considered a violation of human rights. The humanitarian consequences have been catastrophic. Venezuela's economy has contracted by more than 70%. Hyperinflation has destroyed savings and made basic goods unaffordable for ordinary people. Millions of Venezuelans have fled the country, creating a refugee crisis that has affected neighboring nations throughout Latin America. And here's what makes this particularly cruel. When Venezuelans flee the chaos and economic devastation that American sanctions helped create, they're treated at the U.S. southern border as an immigration problem, as criminals and invaders, rather than as refugees from a humanitarian crisis that American policy directly caused. We create the conditions that force people to flee, and then we demonize them for fleeing. This is the kind of moral contradiction that defines so much of American foreign policy. But Venezuela didn't collapse the way Washington expected. Despite the enormous pressure, despite the economic warfare, despite multiple attempts to foment military coups and recognize opposition figures as the legitimate government, the Maduro government has survived. And it survived in part because it found partners willing to trade with Venezuela despite American threats, willing to provide investment and technical assistance, willing to treat Venezuela as a sovereign nation with the right to determine its own political and economic system. Russia has been one of those partners, along with China, Iran, Turkey, and others. These aren't ideological alliances based on shared values. These are pragmatic relationships based on mutual interest and a shared opposition to American unilateral dominance of the international system. When Russian naval vessels arrive in Venezuelan ports, this is the context we need to understand. Russia isn't invading Venezuela. Russia has been invited by a sovereign government that has every legal right under international law to conduct military exercises and security cooperation with whatever partners it chooses. The United States conducts military exercises with dozens of countries around the world, maintains over 700 military bases in foreign countries, stations troops on every continent. American naval vessels regularly patrol the South China Sea, the Persian Gulf, the Mediterranean, the Baltic Sea, waters thousands of miles from American shores. But when Russia sends ships to Venezuela, suddenly this is treated as an outrageous provocation and unacceptable threat to American security. The double standard is breathtaking. Let's talk about the Monroe Doctrine, because this is really what underlies American outrage at Russian involvement in Latin America. The Monroe Doctrine, articulated in 1823, essentially declared that the Western Hemisphere was America's sphere of influence and that European powers should stay out. At the time, it was framed as a defense of newly independent Latin American republics against potential European recolonization. But in practice, over the subsequent 2 centuries, the Monroe Doctrine became a justification for American imperialism throughout the hemisphere. It morphed from Europe should stay out to the United States has special rights in Latin America to effectively Latin America belongs to us and will intervene whenever we want to protect our interests. This is the mentality that has driven American policy through the era of gunboat diplomacy, through the Cold War, right up to the present day. But here's the thing that Washington hasn't fully accepted yet. The Monroe Doctrine is dead. It died because the world changed. Latin American countries are no longer willing to accept their status as subordinate states in an American sphere of influence. They have their own interests.
Russia has finally entered the battlefield to assist Venezuela against the United States. Russia's Ilyushin Il-76 giant cargo landed today in Venezuela's capital, Caracas, carrying 50 tons of supplies and 200 personnel. Let me tell you, this cargo plane is globally famous for delivering rockets, helicopter parts, warheads, military equipment, and it can supply S-400 systems. Apparently, all these supplies have now reached Venezuela. For the S-400, it's being reported that 2 to 3 more trips will be needed. I should also mention that this Il-76 completed a 2-day journey to reach Venezuela, passing through Germany, Algeria, Morocco, and Mauritania. This mission also serves as a moral support gesture. Moreover, they stated that Russia's military support and supplies will be fully available to Venezuela. While Ukraine is receiving support from Europe, NATO, and the United States in the Russia-Ukraine war, Russia will definitely support Venezuela. As I mentioned before, 80 to 90% of Venezuela's military equipment is Russian-made. Now, only the U.S. troops and F-35s are monitoring the Caribbean Sea in Latin America, and an attack could happen at any moment.
Tonight, a major shift in the Americas. Russia has quietly begun shipping advanced weaponry to Venezuela, a move seen as a direct counter to U.S. pressure in the region. New images show containers arriving in Venezuelan ports.
Breaking news. Russia has officially entered the conflict, intervening to support Venezuela against the United States. Today, a massive Russian cargo plane, an Ilyushin Il-76, landed in Caracas, the capital of Venezuela, carrying 50 tons of supplies and 200 military personnel on board. This aircraft is known worldwide for transporting rockets, helicopter parts, warheads, and even components of the S-400 missile system. According to reports, these supplies are intended to bolster Venezuela's defenses, and it will take at least 2 or 3 more flights to complete the deliveries. The Il-76 took 2 days to reach Venezuela, flying over Germany, Algeria, Morocco, and Mauritania. This mission isn't just about delivering weapons. It also represents a significant show of moral and strategic support. Russia has confirmed that its military aid will remain fully available to Venezuela, since 80 to 90% of Venezuelan military equipment is of Russian origin. Moscow's support could tip the balance, while U.S. forces and F-35 fighter jets keep watch over the Caribbean, ready for any potential conflict.
So it is. Let me see. One more.
Breaking news. I don't think there's good enough tension here. That's right. China has sent their naval ship to Donald Trump or America's doorstep, everyone in Venezuela. Look how huge this is. This is a floating hospital. Gigantic. Why would they be sending this to Venezuela if there's not going to be a war against Donald Trump, the United States? We're also going to talk about the massive U.S. military buildup. The U.S. is also scouting new deployment locations in the Caribbean for ships, drones, and surveillance. This is separate from the Venezuela tensions. This is now a long-term presence, by the way. We're also going to talk about tensions near Venezuela. U.S. naval forces are still staying in outside the Venezuelan waters, and there are also officials are calling it a provocative military pressure. Of course, they are in Venezuela. And we're also going to cover global war and security. Israel Hezbollah border remains active with strikes overnight. Thanks for watching.
All right, guys, let's just get this reading activated. I do believe that there's going to be a war. I believe that personally, but I think the question then becomes when. And Candace Owen has said that there's going to be a 9/11 event on U.S. soil. And my question is going to be, much like Israel, are we going to bomb ourselves and say Venezuela did it? And have your president say, we got to go to war because we were bombed by Venezuela or Russia or China at this point. But I think the other question that I'm asking is, does America have the money to go to war? Because the way I see it, Venezuela has enough oil to have a conversation with Russia and China. And so giving them oil will fuel this war. And so that means Russia and China most likely will not go broke. We, on the other hand, send $53 billion to Israel, and we are $1 trillion in debt because our president likes to go golfing. We actually don't have the money for war. Now, I understand war can happen anyway because we have the resources for war. But will our service men and women get paid? Will their families eat? As our service people are being ordered to bomb somebody. We don't have the money for this. Now, if the final outcome is, yeah, I don't have the money, but I'm going to rob the bank, that's what they're banking on. But they're not expecting security to be inside the vault. True security, China and Russia. Now, Russia and America has had problems since 47 took office. I couldn't understand that because I always saw him retiring to Russia for safety. Putin hates him. But knowing 47, he told Putin his plans. And Putin was like, no. Before you do that, I'm going to have a talk with Venezuela. And I'm going to make plans with them. And I'm going to be nicer than you are. Now, let me remind you all, this is America's way of communicating, interfering with their politics, unaliving their leaders, saying that there's drugs or weapons of mass destruction. Remember that? And there were none. And ultimately ruining the country. Now, let me remind you that we have never won a war since the Civil War. We did not win World War II. World War II was going on for years. We did not get in until Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. And let me tell you in a little secret, they knew Japan was going to bomb Pearl Harbor. They got the intel. But they decided to let Japan, they meaning America, to let Japan bomb Pearl Harbor because that was their reason for getting in the war, because they wouldn't get in the war before to help the Jews. Nope. Almost every country set out. That's what Venezuela is right now. There's not a country part of NATO that is telling America, don't do this. You know why? Because Venezuela has the most oil in the whole fucking entire world. And the other wealthy countries won't even let Venezuela negotiate their oil. That's how evil they are. All of them. So, with all that being said, America has set up off the coast of St. Croix because it's the closest to Venezuela. We've seen the ships. The only reason why I'm even doing this video right now is because the birds are not acting right. The birds are not acting right. And when the birds aren't acting right, it's because the ground is shaking. It's because something's going to happen. I don't even hear the crickets tonight. When you're in California, when you don't hear crickets, there's an earthquake coming. That's one of our like naked measures. They're like, oh, there's no crickets. There's going to be an earthquake because the earthquake rumbles underneath, even if we don't hear it. Right? Before it comes to the surface, there's a rumbling. The crickets hear the rumbling. I hear no crickets tonight. And the birds are acting very, very weird. So, I'm going to see if we're going to go to war. If we're going to go to war. Because I have a funny feeling that '47 is scared of Russia and '47 is scared of China. I'm sorry to say that, but that's my feeling. So he might try something like bomb innocent boats. I don't believe he's going to go against some superpowers, just like America. So let's take a look. Please, God, talk to me. Talk to me about war. Is there going to be a war? And how long and how soon can we expect it if there is going to be a war? Please allow me to see anything and everything that you would like for me to see. War is your love. It's your beloved. It's your child, Father God. Please authorize me to see and say what you would like for me to say and see. I love you, God. I love you, Jesus. In your name I pray. Amen. Amen. Ashe. All right. What I got was an eye like this, but it was like a real like eye of Horus, but I don't know if it was the left or right. One is maleficent, the other one is benevolent. So I don't know what I saw. I just saw the eye and the pupil when my eyes were closed. The Nine of Cups means that there is a structural building to go to war. All right, happily. It's almost like they have to, but how do they strategize this? This could mean war. It doesn't necessarily mean touching ground. Of course, it involves money. Of course, it involves, like, be generous with us. I don't know why they just can't ask Venezuela for their resources. Like, is that impossible to just negotiate? That's what China did. That's what Russia did. Why couldn't America just negotiate and say, we'd like to work with you? Like, they're treating Venezuela like they're the idiots. They're not. All right. There's some deception going on here. There's some deception as to whether or not we're actually going to go to war. There's some trickery involved. I see a couple of women here. I don't know who they are. Um, but the answer, I guess, is yes. Yes, we will be going to war. We have to, and we shall fail. If we go to war, we will fail and we will become impoverished and we will lose resources. Lots of it. So we could get plunged into um, we could get plunged into getting attacked get plunged into getting attacked. It's almost like they're going to start screaming, we're going to war, we're going to war. And then we're all going to wake up to bombings. Here's the thing that I think bothers me. I feel like America's going to flex about war. We're going to war, the threat, the threat, the threat. Um, but I think America might get hit first. They have a plan for us. So the answer is yes, we're going to war. But I think they're going to sneak attack us first. And I think the ships at sea are going to get pulpited. I, I, I don't think it's going to be on land. I think that they're going to attack the American ships at sea. So this feels like that bully at school, bothering the little skinny kid, but the bully's like this big, fat, overweight kid. And little does the fat, overweight bully know, but the little kid is taking karate and has been taught a technique to cut the giant at its feet or to poke the giant in its balls or to get him at his eyeballs. 3 critical places: cut him down at his feet, break his ankles, attack the balls, even if you got to bite on them and never let go, ravage them balls, or poke them in the eye. And I don't mean poke them, but like really like jam something in the eye. Um, I believe that the bully, America, is putting up their ships and, menacing and bombing already little tiny fishermen ships, calling it drug issue when it's really oil issue, right? That's a bully, right? I think they already have plans to attack the ships at sea. I don't think it's going to hit the land. And no, this will not be a World War III, L. Williams, because the other countries are cowards. They want no parts of this. But if America gets oil, then they'll be like, oh, could we have some oil? But as far as participating in this war, no. America's on its own. And Venezuela has 2 powerful countries behind them. Nobody's going to fuck with these 2 powerful countries. No one. We think the Netherlands, Switzerland, Australia, do you think they're all going to get involved? You think Europe, I'm not yelling at you, sweetie. You think Europe's going to get involved and they broke his shit? France can't do shit. France has to worry about Africa taking their power back. But if America wins, they'll be like, oh, buddy, you're amazing. Like they do with most bullies until the bully winds up in a hospital. And then that skinny little kid turns out to be, the one that they're praising. This ain't your mama's war. This ain't your mama's war. This is not World War One. This is not World War Two. Like information technology can do a lot of damage, including confusing the ship's internet service. Satellite. This is about money, oil. We ain't never going to get that oil. And all we had to do was play nice and act nicely. But all those supposed rich countries, the people part of NATO, anybody a part of the summit keeps growing. Venezuela, they don't want to work with Venezuela. Last I checked, it was Summit 20. That means 20 countries that could be working with the little tiny island that has the most oil. None of this is making sense. And because it's not making sense, the bully, America, it's going to be embarrassing. It's going to be embarrassing. This is not something that is going to turn out nice. Are we going to war? Yes. Something is going to get bombed. I think it's going to be on water. I do not think they're going to make it to land. I think they have to hit the waters where the ships are. And I think they have a plan. I even think there's going to be a potential for negotiating. And then they're going to still knock the shit out of America. Now, I don't know who these two women are. I have no idea. But two women are going to play a factor in all of this. And I don't know if they're American. I don't know who they are. They're going to have to show up when they show up. All right? Yes, peace. Russia and China has Venezuela's back. And that's a problem for us, which is why I see the war happening on water, not on land. And there's some trickery involved. So, the only trickery I could see, because it will be so embarrassing if Russia does something, the only trickery I could see is what Israel did to themselves, bombing themselves and then saying, we have to go to war, but only after they had, or one of their ships had already been bombed. So, I don't know who's going to get hit first. If they have to bomb themselves, one of the Caribbean islands will have to get hit. And I don't think it's going to be Puerto Rico, because they have a huge military base that they have to preserve. So it most likely will be St. Croix. This war will be on the water. Period. But they got something sneaky in order for the war to begin. We don't have the manpower to do this. We have the technology. Trust and believe. But the other thing that's very critical in everyone understanding that the technology, we have the technology spread out all over the world. We don't necessarily have the technology here on St. Croix. So it's definitely going to come down to War of the Waters. But the way I'm getting it more than anything is that the fight is a big and bad bully fight, and we're going to lose. And we've lost at other battles. It won't be the first time. We've lost at other battles going on land. I forget some of the names of the battles, but we've lost some amazing battles throughout the years. We have not won a war since the Civil War. We never won Vietnam. Ever. We didn't win World War II. World War II just dissolved. No one won that. They were like, okay, let's end it. We can't find Hitler anymore, so let's just end it. But we refused to touch World War II because every country wanted to get rid of the Jews. And didn't care if they were being tortured. That's weird. And sad. And mortifying. But hey, the Jews took all that information and now they're doing it to Palestine. So they learned something. Never forget. They didn't forget. They just placed all that technology and trying to cleanse. That's why they kill all the babies. All right. Anywho. Let's lower the stage. Let's see what else I could see. If we go into war, we will lose. Again. This could turn around because this card is next to this card. This could turn around horribly. And this could be a lack of faith where our own military will not have faith in our own president. This could turn around very, very badly. Look at this presumption of money. I just don't get that it's going to be a good thing. This is a premature fight. I don't know what sign Venezuela is. Maduro. A lot of feminine presence. I don't know what that means. 3 powers. This looks like BRICS. I don't know who's involved in BRICS, but BRICS may be the one to support Venezuela. What do you guys think? BRICS might support Venezuela. Who is BRICS? Brazil, Russia. What does the I stand for? India? I think it's India. Brazil, Russia, India, China. What's the S? I don't know what the S stands for. And then there's Africa. So I think it's turning into BRICSA. At least 3 powerful people from BRICS. So I think that would be Russia, China, and probably India. I'm thinking probably India. India hates Europe, by the way. Just hates America, hates Europe. This is the government that's going to have to put their tail between their legs. Because what I'm going to say it's BRICS. What BRICS is going to do is going to be so damn sneaky. We are not ready for the sneakiness, but it's our karma, guys. It's America's karma. It's America's karma. We can't win this. And this is going to be seen all over the world, how weak of a country we are in terms of bullying. It's the bullying that is going to come out loud and clear. Is Saudi Arabia the S? Not South Africa. It's not just I don't know. African countries, I don't know. Help me. I don't know if is it South Africa? The S? Let me see. Is it Saudi Arabia? Hmm. Brazil, Russia, oh, India, China, and South Africa. Oh, thank you, sweetie. Sorry I didn't believe you. But other African countries might be involved, and that includes Ethiopia. There's a BRICS summit. Please stop. Yep, yep. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa is BRICS, with other countries joining in. They're up to their 16th BRICS summit. which is our version of like NATO. So that now includes United Arab, Iran, Ethiopia, Egypt. Um, oh, United Nations is joined BRICS. Hmm. Vladimir Putin is the president of BRICS. Interesting. Very interesting. All right. Thank you for that. All right, guys. I'm getting three major countries are going to come against. I got India, China, and Russia. Um, and then America will just freeze operations. We can't go any further. Once once it starts, it will end fairly quickly because America's going to see that they are the big bad bully that can't withstand what they could have done, which was negotiate with Venezuela for the oil, like China and Russia did. Oh, North Korea. Oh, they would love to get involved, huh? Yes, yes. You're right, Peace. BRICS is about new currency, and all of Africa is recreating their own currency, including Burkina Faso. So that's really going to fuck up the financial with France, with Europe, and with America. And basically, it's like having a dad that bullies you. And then once you get old enough, you're like, no, father, no, you can't bully me any longer. And then the father has always had the upper hand, like Joe Jackson, goes to strike at you, right? And the son or the daughter grabs the hand and says, I swear to God, I swear I will kill you. You will never, ever put your hands on me ever again. And it's in that moment that the parent realizes, oh, I can't do this anymore. I can't bully my own child anymore. I think France um, is is going to become part of a big picture because France is going broke. And the UK, they can't even get Brexit out. They're coming in just, I believe they're coming in just to see what BRICS is doing, not necessarily to be at their best in a economy and a season where no, you can't act like bullies anymore. So the question is, will there be a war? The answer is yes. Will it last long? No. I see the war on water. On water. That's where I see the war. But just to be little bitches, America might bomb itself to then say to the people, we had to do it. We had to do it. So I feel like it's going to begin on the water, but they might get like hurt really bad, the ships on the water, and then America turns around, bombs itself, and then says, we're at war, but you didn't get the whole story. Like most of us don't get the whole story till like 50 years later. Upside down priest, upside down, violates the trust of your spiritual community, seduced by your own spiritual role. So I think that sounds about right. Like you go into a church and a church manipulates you and manipulates you into thinking that death is better in heaven. Like you'll eat better in heaven. There'll be 7 virgins in heaven. I always thought it was 72 virgins in heaven. You know, that church doctrine, the way they talk to people to make people believe, bada, 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 boom. I believe they're going to do that with the war. Well, we didn't do nothing wrong. See, we told you, and look at that. Look at that. They bombed us. We had to go to war. But you know what? We're going to be the bigger people. We're going to stop this war. What you need to do is stop giving Israel billions of dollars. Then you would have money for this damn war y'all want to go after. You're not going to win this, America. I'm so sorry. This is not a good thing. I'm sorry. I can only do what Spirit tells me. Shadow priest, upside down. I think it was, right? Was it upside down? Manifests as the inability to live according to one's own teaching. Was it upside down or was it right side up? I don't remember now. Especially in lapses of personal morality or using ordained authority to control people for personal gain. Sounds like our 47. It was upside down. Shadow priest manifests as the inability to live according to one's own teachings, which we know 47 can't, especially in lapses of personal morality. We know that there's none there. Or using ordained authority, military control, to then control the people for what? What? Personal gain. You're going to war. How soon? I don't know. If I go by the birds, soon. How soon? God, give me some numbers. I only want numbers, God. How soon? 2, 10 days, 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks. Maybe what Candace said is going to be true, that there's going to be a 9/11 event, probably going to be on St. Croix. Oh, my poor people. And make it look like they managed to get past our warships. Oh my God. I feel so bad for our military people that is going to have to carry out an operation to hurt their own American soil. That's why they all come back with PTSD. All right. I guess stateside doesn't have to worry. It'll be the Caribbean side. It is what it is, y'all. Bada bing. So disappointed. I'm so disappointed. All right. So I'm going to ask y'all to pray for the people of St. Croix. Because this is some bullshit. All right. And if it's not going to be St. Croix, which would be crazy because we're the closest, I'm trying to think about economics. St. Thomas brings in more money. I just can't see them hitting St. Thomas. They could hit St. John, but logistically, that doesn't make sense. But St. John has more land. So they could hit St. John on an empty field and say, oh, we were attacked. Oh, we were attacked. And nobody dies. They could do that. Although logistically, that doesn't make sense. St. John is the furthest from Venezuela. By the way, it will be us bombing ourselves. But there's no military on St. John. So it could be St. John. Any case, one of these islands are going to get hit. And I don't believe it's going to be Puerto Rico. I refuse to believe that. That is where the military power is at. Military powers in Puerto Rico. They're not going to waste all that money and manpower. I promise you. So it's going to be the lesser islands in terms of military. The only one that doesn't have military on it is St. John. So they could act like, and St. John has like this reserve preservation. So maybe they'll be bombing that because, heartless people. If they don't care about humans, they don't care about reservations preserved. Maybe it'll be St. John. Let me see. Good health. Hi, One Deep. Good health to you too. UK is broke. Yes, UK is broke. That's why they can't get through Brexit. That's why they can't keep a prime minister. How is this prime minister lasting so long? Because that's an impossibility. All right, let's take a look. St. Croix, St. Thomas, St. John, St. Croix, St. Thomas, St. John, Croix, Thomas, John. St. Thomas brings in too much money. St. John, there's a weapon here. Not a huge amount of money comes from them, and they can actually rebuild St. John into a smart city. Interesting. They can rebuild St. John. Interesting. They rebuild them into a smart city. Huh. Oh, yeah. I'm going to stick with St. John. You know what else I figured out? There were no hurricanes that hit the American soil because I'm starting to believe that hurricanes, when they form, are being manipulated by satellite. And I think they purposely kept the hurricanes away from American islands, particularly because there's no money in FEMA to support any hurricanes. And that's why Jamaica had like a 7.0 hurricane, because it was so manipulated that it revved up. That's just my psychic opinion, and I'm sticking to it. I think St. John is going to get the hit. I don't know, guys. Let's pray for St. John then. But there will be a presumption of a war that we as Americans can't handle. It is way bigger than us, and we should not be venturing into this. But at this stage of the game, the bully has to do what the bully does. The bully can't back down, but the bully will get cut off at the knees, the balls, the testicles, and the eyeballs. It's gonna look ugly and embarrassing. We will be the laughing stock. All right, guys. Let's, I'm so tired. Let's see how this works out. Oh, you guys were talking all this time. Peace, yes, UK is broke. Oh, I was watching. Hi, Vic Game Chicks. Thank you so much. Please call me for your own personal reading. 213-458-7408. And please subscribe. I love my new subscribers. North Korea would love to get involved. Ciao. North Korea would be like, just tell me to come. I want to come. New currency is here as it should. I get it. I get it for all the other countries. BRICS is about new currency, leaving the dollar behind and taking back their countries. All right. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Be safe and mentally prepare. Mentally prepare. We may not be able to stop the war, but energetically, through our minds, we could end it quickly. We have the power to maybe not stop it because it's way out of our control now, and we didn't think about stopping it. But once it begins, we can power it down. I promise you. And we will. And I love you. And take it easy. And goodbye. Call me for your own personal reading, 213-458-7408. Good night, everyone.
In the heart of the city, there's a lady so divine, with a gift so rare she can read between the lines, unlocking mysteries. She's the one we all admire. With a touch of magic, she sets our souls on fire. From psychic readings to rosemary oil so pure, her spirit shines bright. Of that I am sure. On TV she graces the screen with grace. Her presence is a blessing in every time and place. Pop culture psychic, in tune with the stars. She sees beyond the veil, even beyond Mars. And when the night falls, Tracy after dark, her wisdom illuminates like a powerful spark. So if you seek guidance, look no further than her door. Tracy Brown live where wisdom does soar. Through the realms of the unseen, she'll light your way. With every word she speaks, darkness turns to day. Tracy Brown live, the beacon of light, guiding us through the shadows of night. Her voice like a melody, so pure and strong. In her presence, we know we belong. From psychic readings to rosemary oil so pure, her spirit shines bright. Of that I am sure. On TV, she graces the screen with grace. Her presence is a blessing in every time and place. Pop culture psychic, in tune with the stars. She sees beyond the veil, even beyond Mars. And when the night falls, Tracy after dark, her wisdom illuminates like a powerful spark. So if you seek guidance, look no further than her door. Tracy Brown live where wisdom does soar. Through the realms of the unseen, she'll light your way. With every word she speaks, darkness turns to day. Tracy Brown live, the beacon of light, guiding us through the shadows of night. Her voice like a melody, so pure and strong. In her presence, we know we belong. Tracy Brown live, the beacon of light, guiding us through the shadows of night. Her voice like a melody, so pure and strong. In her presence, we know we belong.